Get ready. It's time for...
Well, guess what? We're live, everybody, on the Me and Jesse podcast. That's Mark Pavlich right over there. I'm Jesse Marino. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Great show we have for you today with a great guest. Jacob Robson from the Detroit Tigers will be joining us very shortly. Until then.
From the Tigers.
The Tigers. Yes. What happened? Oh, Chappelle did a show in Detroit because he usually bashes Detroit so hard that he decided to do the last one. It's actually, he said it word for word in the special.
Yeah. Wow.
I know.
I'm a big
Detroit
fan.
Gets no love, though. Although, that being said, the Lions suck. Now, you were a Lions fan.
Long time ago. And you know what the crazy part is? The funny part is, look at them now and look who they did the trade with, and look at how great he's doing right now.
Oh, anyone that thought that wasn't going to work out for the Rams was an idiot, because Jared Goff is literally honestly, Mark. Now, my Seahawks lost Russell Wilson. I'd rather have Geno Smith throwing balls than Jared Goff.
Me too.
That's how bad Jared Goff is.
And Geno's, I'm not down with Geno either, but I would take
Geno
over
sucks. Him. There's no question. But I'd rather him than Jared Goff.
Me too.
And that's your starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions.
But everybody knew Stafford was great.
Everybody
knew Stafford was great.
Still can sling the ball. Now, honestly, I think the Arizona Cardinals are the early favorites.
Yeah.
They are looking. That offense is a juggernaut. And their defense, J.J. Watt has to be one of the best leaders in the NFL.
Oh, undisputed.
He can rally that team. And the Houston Texans say one day, hey, you know what? We have the best receiver, maybe, in the last 20 years. Let's trade him to Arizona for nothing.
It's unbelievable,
we don't
man.
need him.
No.
Why?
That's like Waller too, right? He's on the practice squad over in Baltimore. Gruden walks by and sees him playing on the practice squad, and they go, "Hey, wait a second. Hey, who's that guy? Who's that guy over there that hasn't dropped the ball in the last 10 thrown to him on the practice squad?"
It's crazy how the depth that Baltimore had it, because Mark Andrews is. Yeah, they're both now top 3 tight ends. So, I mean, hey, that's pretty good when you can do that. But yes, exactly. That's it. That is the game of the NFL. That's the game of all pro sports. Is that when you draft guys or get guys out of somewhere, you don't know who you're getting.
That's the problem. Correct.
Really?
Yes.
You got to prove yourself.
You do. You have to prove yourself.
And there's a lot of ways to do that. Now, Patrick Mahomes' brother Jackson.
Yeah.
TikToker.
Is he a TikToker?
Yeah, he is a TikToker.
Okay.
He danced on retired number of a passed away player for the KC Chiefs yesterday during the game. Did a TikTok right on, danced. A little TikTok dance. Okay. People lit him up. Now, I'm going to go to bat for this kid.
Okay.
Because it turns out, and here's the problem with our society today. We never look at the facts. Turns out that they actually made him stand there. And there's zoomed out pictures of everyone, and they actually have it roped off. And that's the only place these people can stand is right on the number. There's nowhere else for them to stand. So he gets absolutely raked over the coals for doing this thing. And it was actually the only place he was allowed to go. So, that's one of those things, again, where it proves, like, hey, how about doing a little bit of fact checking before you start throwing darts?
Prior, yes.
Yeah, prior.
Yeah. Right.
Hockey season started as well.
Yes.
Which I don't really care about anymore.
I know.
I mean, for the sake of the show,
what's going on?
Honestly, I think hockey's boring.
Scary.
Hockey is boring. And here's why.
Okay, tell me.
You haven't really evolved this game for 30 plus years.
I couldn't disagree more, but go ahead, please.
Well, okay, you have the big rule change in 2006.
Are you crazy? The speed is so much faster now. It is incredible how fast they're going.
Our guest is here. We'll be right back. We'll continue this conversation.
Thank God. Lucky for you, he's here.
On the Me Jesse podcast.
Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. I am Mark Pavlich. Next to me on the far left, the bearded wonder, the one and only Jesse Martineau, and our special guest today, guys. This is a special one for me. We've had all kinds of NFL guys, you name it. We've had him on the show. This is one of my favorite guests before he's even spoken. This is the one and only Detroit Tiger / baseball prodigy, in my opinion, Jacob Robson, to the show. Everybody. Hello.
Welcome to the show, Jake. How's it going tonight?
Thank you guys very much for having me. It's going great. Going great. How about you guys?
Hey, well, we can't complain.
We prepared. We prepared.
We prepared. Now,
We
do you watch the playoffs now? Now that we're in that, do you actually watch it?
Yeah, I will watch it. I won't go out of my way, but if I'm not really doing anything, I'll definitely watch it.
I always wonder that about like professional athletes, and I think everyone's probably different, but like how much do you like watch other teams, or is it all about just focusing on your own?
No, I grew up watching the game. My grandfather, my mom's dad, we were really close before he passed away, and that was like what I did as a kid.
Right.
I would go over to his place and we would watch. He got all the big league games on his TV, so we'd watch them all, and just I would study and marvel at these guys, and being sort of on the other side of it, it's pretty cool just to understand how much work it takes, and no matter who you are, if you make league minimum or if you're a huge contract guy, like they're huge moments, especially at the end of the year, and like the stats go out the window, and it reminds you of why you play the game, and it's just to win that game that night.
Yeah.
So things are a little different when playoffs come around. I think that's true in every sport.
Who was your team then?
Jesse, do you know, though, I know Jacob's grandfather.
Oh.
Okay. And before he passed away, when I was a kid, he was Tom Selleck before Tom Selleck was Tom Selleck. He was so, the definition of the word GQ.
Yeah.
He was GQ before GQ was GQ, And when we were kids, we were like, who is this movie star, right? Like we were like looking at this guy, and we're like, he was like Tom Selleck before Tom Selleck was Tom Selleck. I swear to God, I'm not joking.
Yeah, he was the man. He was in great shape all the time. He looked fantastic. And in fact, when you were a young dude, you were like, hey, I want to look like him when I get older. That's kind of how it was. And no joke. Like when I was in grade school, I went to St. Gabriel grade school, and then I went to Massey, the same school you went to. And I went to Assumption first, and I went to Massey. But I remember always looking at your grandfather, and I was like, yeah, one day I want to look like him, Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little biased, but he was the man.
Yeah, he was.
Who was your team growing up?
The Tigers.
Really?
Tigers. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guess
my
being from
Uncle Jay, we used to go to games all the time. I think he had season tickets. If he didn't, then we just
went to a lot of
games all the time. Grew up watching Miggy, Maglio, these studs, Verlander coming up. I remember 2006, I went to one of the World Series games.
Wow.
I was like 11 or 12 at that time, and yeah, just grew up a Tiger fan. Being Canadian, we always get the Jays games on Sportsnet, so inherently follow that team too. But yeah, Tigers were always my team.
Well, I got to let you in on a little confession, because during the 90s, when I was, huge into baseball and the Jays, the Tigers were our bane. Cecil Fielder absolutely killed us mercilessly, and we couldn't do anything about it. So I always hated the Tigers, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to put the Tigers for a serious error, and they were great at the same time. So it was one of those things. And then of course they go through the growing pains and stuff now.
But you were on the field. You were on the field when Miggy hit his 500th, right? Like you were there.
I was not on the field, no.
But you were you're the clubhouse. You were in you were in the clubhouse when that happened. I mean, that's kind of cool, right? Like, can you imagine, like, you're watching him at 11, and now he's hitting his 500th, and you're there. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was totally bizarre. I was fortunate enough to be with the team on the taxi squad. They had like a taxi squad this year, basically for guys who get hurt or have COVID or anything like that. It's just like kind of reserve players that go on the trip. So I was on that trip, but I couldn't be in the dugout. So we were in the clubhouse, in the locker room, just hanging out. And obviously every at bat he had, we were all just really locked in on. And a cool thing about Miggy is, especially when he's DH that day, when he's a designated hitter, he comes in the clubhouse and hangs out in between at bats.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's earned the right to do that. I don't know if I would do that if I was DH.
No, he's put his time in. He's allowed to do what Miggy wants to do.
Yeah.
He gets a pass. He does.
Now, what is it like to hang out with a guy like that? Like, obviously, could be surreal, but like, do you ask him? Do you feel like you can ask him questions? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, it is surreal. You know, going back to that moment when he hit his 500th, I was like, kind of waiting for him to come back in. You know, when are we gonna talk about it and hang out and whatever? Like, I want to be around this guy, obviously, but it was such an electric environment. He stayed in the dugout for a couple minutes and kind of, you know, soaked it all in.
Yeah,
sure.
Came back in eventually, and you know, I dapped him up, you know, gave him a handshake, whatever, and we were just hanging out again. And he was like, "I feel 20 pounds lighter." I mean, that was
I could imagine
for him. Huge milestone, obviously, but just being around him, he is larger than life. I mean, he really is. I maybe even more so to me because I grew up watching him. But you know, you sort of learn as you work your way up through professional baseball. He's just a person too, and he had to do all the same things that I had to do. He did them really well and very quickly when he was really young, you know, because he was blessed and he was put on this earth to mash baseballs. But
let's talk about that for a second, because let's talk about some of that hard work that you yourself have gone through, because hey, being a Canadian and making the MLB isn't something that happens a lot. Like, this is you are in a very select category of people in the world, in the history of Major League Baseball, that's done this. So what is it? What age were you, and how did you make that progression to where you are now?
What age was I when what?
When you started, like, hey, I want to play baseball. Was it like for me, I played t-ball and was always growing up playing baseball, but like, when was it that you decided, okay, I'm going to keep going down this road?
Yeah, I played t-ball just like everybody else when we were 4 or 5, and I did not really think baseball was going to be in my future. Hockey was definitely my number one priority and my first love. Grew up on the ice from, you know, I was skating before I could walk. I mean, my parents would always take me out on the ice, and I loved it. I grew up basically prioritizing hockey over baseball, but I played baseball every year. And I had that special connection with my grandfather. He was a baseball player.
Okay.
And so he sort of taught me the way a little bit, and I had just tremendous guidance from him, not to mention support from my parents the whole way up, but that's a whole other deal.
Right.
When I was about 15, my OHL draft year, I decided that I didn't want to play hockey.
Wow. So you were in a position to be drafted in the OHL?
I don't know if I would have been.
We don't know. Yeah.
The day that I quit hockey, I was definitely a better hockey player than baseball player. So,
wow.
Who knows what would have happened? I don't have any regrets. I just had a gut feeling that, you know what, this isn't something I want to do for my job.
Wow.
And, you know, being a Canadian kid, you really have to make a decision like that at that age.
Yeah.
You know, it's
how did you talk to people, or was it just finally like you're laying in your bed and you make it?
You know, I'm very grateful to say this. If I called my parents today and said I'm done playing baseball, at any point during this, they would say, okay, that's totally fine. They would respect it. And, you know, they totally let me do my own thing. And I had a gut feeling when I was 15, like, I don't want to just put all my eggs in this basket.
Wow.
So I'm just going to keep playing baseball and see what happens. I played volleyball at the time too. Grew up playing pretty much every sport. It was a huge moment for me in my life. It was sort of that first big moment where, okay, I have to make a huge decision here. And I just made the call and didn't look back since. I was a very undersized player at that time at 15. I was a late bloomer.
Okay.
So who knows, you know, I don't think I was a top OHL prospect. I'm not sure what would have happened if I would have grown and matured a little bit more. Who knows? But anyway, when I was 16, so grade 11-ish, that's when I sort of realized maybe I can play past high school. Because before that, I didn't know. I didn't know how I measured up to anyone. I had only played against a select few amount of players in my area, and
I guess that's something in Canada too. In hockey, we can measure that, but in baseball, it's a different game. It's a different idea.
Totally.
But can we say this though? Would you think it, like, I know a lot of people that played baseball, right? And it seems so much harder to get to Major League Baseball than it does to the NHL. Like it does. It seems like people I've talked to along the way, we've had guests on the show that were in the NFL, and they were between NFL and playing in Major League Baseball, and they said the same thing. They're like, baseball's different, man. There's one center
There's more
fielder.
people around the world that want to play, right?
Correct. It's not like hockey. I mean, hockey's getting bigger now. You got people in Germany,
Still hard,
you got people
but,
everywhere. But Major League Baseball, we have a dear friend TJ of Jesse and mine. He was a great pitcher, and he said the same thing. He said to get to that next level of Major League Baseball is so difficult, more than any other sport.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know really how to. I'm not going to give you a concrete answer. Sorry, but hockey is really hard. It is a very skilled, specific sport. It is very physically demanding on you. There are less games in a season, but if you play one game of hockey and one game of baseball, you're way more exhausted playing hockey.
Yeah.
So there are some days when I play and I don't even have any dirt on my uniform and barely sweat. So
right.
That being said, that's a whole other animal. Baseball is a marathon, and this, that, and other.
Yeah. I want to talk about that too in a minute, but let's continue the story first of you. Okay, you're 16, 17, and you decide like, hey, how do I compare myself to other players?
Sure, yeah, they're both tough, Mark. Honestly, to answer that, I look at these guys in the NHL. You know, I have the easiest access to the Leafs probably. So I look at Matthews, Marner, and like these guys are just unbelievable. I'm in awe watching them. Similar to probably you guys watching Miggy or Mike Trout or these studs playing baseball. So either way, they're both really, really tough roads. I'm very grateful to have made it. I'm glad that I made that decision at that age. I really, really grew to love baseball, and I realized there's a lot more to it. The mental side is so huge. It's paramount. The game giveth and the game taketh away. I mean, there are so many things that have happened to me that have been unbelievably terrible, and I've gotten very fortunate at times too. So it is a lot like life. I guess I'm rambling a little bit here, but I would say my grade 11 year, Jesse, was when I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to try and play, and maybe get an education somewhere. I didn't even think about pro or whatever. Like, I was not one of those kids where when I was 10 years old, everybody knew that I was. I was a pipsqueak at 10, I honestly, even at 15.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think once I grew up a little bit and matured physically, I was like, I think I can do this. I branched out and was able to play on teams that weren't just in my area. So my grade 11 year, I was added to the Canadian Junior National Team, the 18 under team. And so that was like my ticket. It was like, boom, wow, okay, I can maybe do this. I had no clue I was good enough to be on that team.
Wow.
I really didn't. And so there was a kid in my hometown who was my age, went to the same elementary school, similar area high school, and he was added to the team before me. And I was like, okay, if he's on the team, not talking bad about him at all. He got drafted.
Yeah, you knew.
But I was like, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I sort of realized I think I have a chance. And the rest is history, really. I mean, we on that national team, you are scouted professionally and collegiately. Yeah. And so I was like, I had always gotten good marks in high school. I was like, I think I can do this. And obviously through grade 12, I was like, okay, I want to play in the big leagues now. I mean, this is something that I think I can do. And this, that, and the other. First and foremost was my education, though. Going to a great school and a great baseball school at that in Mississippi State.
That's right.
And I had an awesome experience there too. So Yeah, I would.
We
say.
got to watch online too. Like your mother, I know your mother. I went to school with your mother, and she got me turned on to college baseball. And I'm telling you, man, like college hockey's awesome to watch, and of course college football's
I
off
love
the
college
charts.
football, but yeah.
Me too. College football's incredible, but college baseball's legit, right? Like it's a very exciting brand of baseball that out of all the college sports, you kind of, it doesn't really even make the grade most of the time because you go, here's
Not a pure,
football.
definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
well football's so far ahead than everything else, right? And then you get even to the basketball, and then probably baseball would fall after that. And it's like I started watching it when you played for Mississippi, and I was like, this is really good baseball, like really good. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yes, I was fortunate enough to go to a powerhouse baseball school. This is something that I realized I was able to do late in high school. It was like last minute. My coaches were like, do not commit to a school that isn't as good just because you're getting offers. And that was a whole other
How
thing.
was the offer process?
But
What was
you
that
got
like?
a lot of. But I know you got a lot of offers, like a lot.
Yeah, honestly,
I know the exact number. I know the exact number. So I I know you're gonna, because you're Canadian like us, right? So you're gonna understate it.
Don't
and
downplay
you're gonna say I got a few offers. I got a few offers, but you didn't. You got about 78 if I'm correct in that area.
You may know more than me about that.
I probably do. I probably do. So can you imagine that's a Canadian thing though, Jesse? Do you see what he did too?
Yes.
Even when he said about his friend playing, and he goes, if he made the team, I don't want to talk bad about him. But we have Americans on the show, guys that Donald Penn that played for the Raiders. He's like, oh, that guy sucked. I'm just better than him, and it's like, oh, okay, But there's an American answer, and then there's a Canadian answer, and we're
We got the Canadian one, but that's good because we're Canadian.
Yes. Yes.
So you have a ton of offers come in, and being like 17, how do you decide?
Well, the first thing was I decided that I didn't want to go to a school where it was cold.
Good choice.
Baseball doesn't fly as well. Yeah.
That, and honestly, it wasn't so much because of the weather. Like, I don't mind. I could totally live in Canada and whatever, but I was like, I'm going to get more time on a baseball field.
That's true. Yeah. That's good thinking. Yeah.
Because I missed, I was not from Texas, Florida, California, where I could play all year round.
24/7, yeah.
I played a little bit in the summer when it was warm.
Wow.
And that was it.
That's an interesting aspect that you don't really think about.
I had to catch up on reps. That was a huge thing for me. In my head was like, I need to go to a warm school. I need to face live pitching all the time. I need to be on a baseball field. So I just basically nixed all the cold weather schools, even though there were some great ones. The next thing was like I had to ask my coaches around me who had experience having guys come up the ladder and get recruited. I had to ask them, like, where do I fit? Like, what type of school is right for me? And I had unbelievable mentors and coaches that gave me great guidance to help make a solid decision on that, especially with the national team. Greg Hamilton, coach of the junior national team now and assistant coach of the men's senior national team. Unbelievable mentor. His thing was like, you can play at any school. Wow. You really can. You may have to win a job. You may have to win a spot, but you can compete at any school. So if you can, go to the best school that you can. That was one of the things. If they have an opening, because, sometimes it's situational. Sometimes they have a guy who's draft eligible and he's a stud center fielder. And it's like, well, I'm not going to play center field as a 17-year-old coming into college. So it worked out. I had my final three options were Mississippi State, the one I ended up choosing, and then my other two were Vanderbilt and TCU. They were options, great academic and athletic schools. So I knew I couldn't go wrong. And then it kind of came down to Mississippi State is in the SEC. Vanderbilt was in the SEC. Vanderbilt had some complications. They didn't know what their money situation was going to be like with the scholarship at the time, because I came on the scene late and a whole bunch of complicated stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to Mississippi State. A huge thing for me was whatever school I committed to, I had to tell them I was going to miss the first 3 weeks of class and practice because I was going to be in South Korea with the national team.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we went in 2000.
Yeah.
What was that? 12.
Yeah.
We went to Seoul, South Korea, and we had the World Junior Championships. We actually got a silver medal in that.
That's right.
tournament,
Yeah.
great tournament. And TCU wasn't sure that the compliance was going to let me go.
I see.
And I was, oh man, and like a month went by, and I was like, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. So I ended up committing to Mississippi State. Awesome school, play with some stud players. I have lifelong friends from a part of the U.S. that I never really thought I'd have friends from.
Exactly.
And yeah, I went through an awesome program, won a lot of baseball games, and I got a whole lot better at baseball for sure.
Wow. So then,
On a serious note, though, Jacob, because I know Jesse, he wants to talk about baseball all day. I want to talk about your obsession. This is serious now. I want to talk about your obsession about shoes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Jesse, get off the baseball. Okay, I want to know about your obsession with shoes, and I want to know about your love for music. Okay, these are rattling in my head all day today. I'm like, because I have a mad obsession for shoes as well. So I want to know what your obsession of shoes is and what type of shoes. Because our audience wants to know, Jesse. Okay, they want to hear. Okay, he bats this average. He bats left-handed. He catches right, vice versa. I want to know about your obsession about shoes.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from or when. I've just always loved shoes. I just got my eyes on shoes. If
Like
someone
what-
got a
what-
nice pair
Like
of
what kind of shoes? Like what's the obsession? Is it
any kind? I mean, I would say probably primarily sneakers,
Gotcha.
but really any kind. I mean, I'll appreciate a nice dress shoe, a nice boot, whatever it may be. I remember growing up, just like whoever had the nicest shoes on, I would just be staring at them. And like I said, I don't know where it came from,
but it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. I definitely
yeah,
obsessed
yeah.
with shoes, and it's a problem, because you want to just buy every nice pair that you see.
So what are we at? What number? Because listen, we had Donald Penn from the Raiders on the show, and he has a storage. Like his obsession with shoes got. He had to get a storage area because the room was not big enough any longer. And I mean, his last contract was $10 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know what I mean? So
he
got paid. So he now has a storage locker with all the shoes in there. And he says he has hundreds and hundreds of pairs that he hasn't even wore yet. So I thought, wow, I thought I had an obsession with shoes, but not to that level. And then I know you have an obsession with shoes, but yours seems like, because you're only 26 years old, right? So
Right.
This is a problem because this could go on for a very long time.
I don't see it going away. Hearing that, what's his name, Donald
Penn.
Yeah. He's a
Donald
Pro Bowler.
Penn,
Pro
that
Bowler.
he's got a storage unit that just makes me want to get to the batting cage and get better at baseball, so I can get paid more, so I can get more shoes. That's the dream right there. So
What's the brand? Like, what are your brands? Like, it doesn't matter.
does not matter. No,
Okay.
I am not partial. I'm not partial at all. I just
Do you get into all those like custom ones that they release and like the special ones that?
I try not to get too far into it because I'll just buy them. So I just appreciate from a distance. And if I come across a pair where it's like
Special.
maybe this isn't too much, yeah. Like I just bought a pair of Jordan 5s, my first Jordan.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Nice shoe.
First of many, I think.
They're your first Jordans.
no- Say that again.
They're your first Jordans.
First Jordan.
Really?
Yeah, I held off. It was like something in my head. I wanted to wait until I made my debut to get a pair.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I don't know
Nice.
what it was.
Yeah, that's
That's
okay.
cool. I like
So,
that.
I got those. I'm not partial. Like I said,
No.
Dress shoes, boots, moccasins,
Yeah.
you could name it. I've always loved them.
So if there's an occasion, you got the shoe for the occasion.
I
Like
would like to think so. If I don't, then I will acquire the shoe. I will acquire the shoe within reason.
Do your teammates like know this obsession?
I think so. Like the thing about the big league lifestyle is like
Someone's
everyone's
got something.
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Cars.
You know,
houses,
you're always
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
get one upped by somebody.
Yes.
So
Forever.
when you see
Yeah.
Miggy pulling up in a Lambo truck, like
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
really matter
yeah.
how many pairs of shoes you have.
No,
No.
So
the steering
It's just
wheel's
one of
worth
those
more than
things
all
that-
of them.
right. Exactly.
Okay.
And the catch. I want to wait before I forget because I want
All
to
right.
the catch when you did play.
Oh yeah.
I lost my shit when I seen you make that catch.
Awesome.
Like the catch was fantastic. You slid over. I said he's gonna knock his head off. When you were running, I said to my wife, "Oh, he's gonna kill himself on the first," And you caught the ball, and I was jumped up. I think I hit my head on the drywall of my house. but what I want to know is, and I'm going to get to the end of this because Jesse's just throwing softballs at you the whole time here, right? I want you to play in the major leagues, and I want you to play in the major leagues a long time, and I want to get your jersey because I don't buy nobody's jersey, right? I don't wear nobody's name on my back except my own. I'll wear your jersey when you get there, when you're there full time. That's a promise. That's a guarantee.
Thank you so much.
That's a guaranteed. I will wear it. I will wear it in my neighborhood, and all these J fans.
It
around
is a
here,
cool jersey, though. I got to admit.
Yeah, it's the coolest, Jesse. Keep yourself in check. Keep yourself in check over there. But what I'm trying to tell you is, when is the mind going to click to be there all the time? Because you can't tell me when you were walking on the field and when you made that catch that after you made that catch and you're walking back to the dugout, you had to be thinking to yourself, and not in an arrogant way, Jacob. I'm talking about in a hardworking way. You had to say to yourself, I do belong here.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that you wrap your head around it before it happens.
Yeah.
And then when you actually get there, you're like, okay, now I'll wrap my head around it. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Describe that play for us.
The play, yeah. I just saw a foul ball, pop up in foul territory, and I was like, if this is gettable, I'm grabbing it. I mean, that was basically my thought. Just sort of went on autopilot from there. A cool story about that catch, though, was the guy who picked me up afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. The
I do.
shortstop.
Yeah, fantastic.
So he's a great friend of mine. His name's Harold Castro. We came up in the minors together.
Wow.
And he had been, he had paid his dues. I mean, he had been neglected, whatever you want to call it. He was in the minors for a while, and he had performed for a long time. And we came up together. And it was just like a really special moment to have a little bit of attention on me. And then you see Harold right behind me, and it's like,
very cool.
We've been doing this for years, It was really cool, a really cool moment. But Jesse, honestly, it was just I saw a pop up, and it was like whatever happened. It was like autopilot.
Incredible.
So what is it going to be though? What is it going to be though at 26 years old? I think you're in November, your birthday, right? So you're a Scorpio like me. So what's going to happen is like when is it going to be the time when you make that shift in your mind? You see, I can talk about these things because in my life I saw all these things happen, and I just had to shift my brain to make them happen. It wasn't like I didn't have the know-how to do it. And same with Jesse. Jesse can attest to things in his life as well. You're at the point now too where, okay, you're 26 years old, and we don't want to be at 32, 33. We want to be playing for the Tigers at this age, and this has got to be in your head. And then you got to say to yourself, no. Like, yeah, you can be polite, you can be humble, you can be all those things, but you do have to get mad. I don't care what anybody tells you. If no one's going to give you any advice, I'm not giving you any advice. This is what I do know. You have to get mad. I've been around professional athletes my whole entire life. They won't say it out loud. They'll say it. They'll talk with me in private and tell me, I had to get mad, Mark. I had to get mad at myself. I had to get mad to the point where I had to deliver each and every day. What is that the same concept basically that you have, or is it yours a different approach? But do you see yourself in the next year, 2 years, 3 years being in that lineup constantly?
The answer to your last question is yes. If it's not with the Tigers, it's with another team.
Sure.
The cool thing about baseball is you can get traded at any time. You can get, if you get taken off the roster, you can get claimed by someone else. There's a lot of opportunity if you perform. And the difficult thing about what you were saying there, Mark, is a lot of it is situational. And you can perform great, and if they don't need a guy, or if they see something in someone else, there isn't much you can do. And so I had spent the last, I was in AAA in 2018 at 23 years old.
Wow.
At that time, I was starting to wrap my head around it. And so it just sort of didn't happen. And I don't know if it was anyone's fault. It's just the way the cards fell. It's tough kind of.
It is. I know.
Because how mad can you really get when it goes on for that long? And it's just sort of like, I have to try and make this okay in my head and wrap my head around it a little bit. I think the moment I got called up, I was so ready mentally, honestly, that if I got called up a few years prior, I think I would have been a little more overwhelmed.
Wow.
I wasn't so much overwhelmed this year as I was taking it in, taking in those 3 years of why hasn't this happened yet?
Correct.
And so I guess it's a little bit different than what you described when you were asking me. But there are some elements in there that are very similar. You know, when I got there, it was like, all right, finally this is happening. I had thought about what happened my whole life, from watching those games as a kid to being so upset that I'm not in the position where I wanted to be in, playing well, playing badly, getting rewarded, getting punished, whether I deserved it or not. It had been a really long road. Once that first day or two went by, it was like, okay, I am here not just because of all of that. Like I'm here because they want me here, and
That's right. That's right.
You know, it's like the first time I was on base with them this year was to pinch run for Miggy in a close game at the end of the game, right before he hit his 500th home run. It was a few games prior.
Wow.
And I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I am the guy for this job. This is why I'm here. You know, it's surreal, but also on their side, it's not. It's like, this is our guy.
Yeah, you're the guy.
Exactly.
At the moment, this is the guy that we want right now. So I was on base for Miggy, but also I had known everything about the pitcher who was on the mound. I was ready to steal a base. I think you sort of forget how much preparation and hard work you put in when you're in a big moment like that. And you're like, oh, I'm not overwhelmed. I'm ready to do this. And I had to make a couple reads, base running reads, and I didn't even think about them. It was like I was just in the minor leagues. So at the end of the day,
you said yourself, this is a mental sport. Like, it really is. Like, you know, I mean, maybe long gone are the days of John Crook drinking a beer and eating a hot dog in the dugout. But that being said, mentally, it is as exerting as any other professional sport, maybe a different angle, but you yourself have to fight yourself on a daily basis to get to autopilot, like you said. So what is it that makes you or enables you to do that part?
I think it's the years and years of playing. I think that especially this year, I did some things even in the minors when not too many people were watching that I wouldn't have done a few years prior, just because I'm older and more mature and I understand the game more. I think you surprise yourself when you just put your head down and work, and then when the moment comes, you're like, oh,
I know this.
I didn't need to worry. I did it perfectly. You know, obviously there are things there's always things you can change when you look back at a game.
Sure.
I was not up there for very long this year. I would have liked to be up there for longer. You know, like I said, for a few years now, I felt that I was ready, and I started to wrap my mind around it. And so a big challenge for me was accepting it's not in my control.
Yeah.
And you can only play so well. Whether you're in the minor leagues or the major leagues, this is something that it really helped me, was understanding this. Whether you're in the minor leagues or the major leagues, you need to keep getting better, right? If you are in the major leagues and you don't play every day, the goal is to play every day.
Yeah.
If you play every day, the goal is to be an all-star.
Yeah.
It's like either way,
Right.
I need to go to the batting cage, work on my swing.
Yeah.
I need to get game reps. I need to make sure all of my practice and my prep work is on point. And I would be doing that no matter what.
Remember Allen Iverson when he kind of made fun of the practice thing? Practice.
Yeah.
That's not in your that isn't your attitude.
No, and I'm not sure if that was his attitude.
Yeah,
either.
I don't think
He was
so
making
either.
another point. I know,
Yeah,
but
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He was a stud. Anyway,
Yeah.
when we were playing, who were we playing? We were playing the Angels at home. Mike Trout was not back yet. He was hurt.
yeah.
I think he had tweaked like his calf or something like that. I was doing some work on the field, like bunting work before the game. and Trout was doing like some sprints, trying to basically get back off of the disabled list, and he was busting his butt. I mean, he was working hard. He understands.
That's my Trout.
and this is a guy who really, he has a huge contract.
Yeah.
He could totally, if he wanted to, just be lax and be lazy. And this is a guy who's just staying on top of his stuff. So if he's doing that, I need to be doing that. My point is, we're both doing the same thing. We're both just getting a little better every single day. And I think that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on the other side of, because baseball will make you bitter. I've been bitter in this game. In the minor leagues. There were times where I was really upset. And I realized all I need to do is just keep getting better. And it really doesn't matter what uniform I have on. Obviously, you make a lot more money with the nice uniform. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
And I think eventually that will happen if you just keep pushing.
We have a strange suspicion that happens. You know that this show, the Me and Jesse podcast, is extremely lucky for a lot of people. We had Cyril Gann on the show one time. He couldn't get a title shot in the UFC. He ends up becoming the interim heavyweight title champion right after he was on the show. He messages me back. He said, "Mark, you're right. It's lucky. It's not." I go, luck's got nothing to do with it. It's this show, Jacob. I'm telling you, there's something that you have. You have intellect. You have athleticism. Okay, these are two things that when you put together with hard work and dedication, it's amazing what could take place, right? So I am just this close. I can't even wait to order the jersey. Okay, and when I don't, and listen, I don't care if it's a Tiger jersey. I don't. Heaven forbid. Wait a second. 1 second. If it's a Jays jersey, it doesn't matter. Whatever team you play for, that's going to be my team. That's it. I've already made that decision. I've told your mother the same thing. I don't talk crap. What I say I'm going to do. But it's. I know you can do it. You got all these attributes. Now it's time to go do it. Now I have another serious question. Okay, Jesse, stay out of this because you don't know nothing about pizza. Best pizza. Well, you've eaten a lot. Jacob, where is the best pizza in the world?
Windsor, Ontario, without a doubt.
Jesse, I tell everybody.
What is it with you guys? Is that all you have to look for? Like in Windsor, is that what it is? We have to say, hey, this town is known for. We're gonna make it about its pizza because everything else isn't great.
My wife is right now swearing at the TV, because she thinks it's terrible. She's from Montreal. They don't know nothing about pizza. We have the best pizza in the world from Windsor, Ontario, hands down. End of story.
Yeah, that's true. I'm in Chicago right now. That's a pizza city, I would say.
And it's better than Chicago. Come on now.
Easily.
I have not had pizza here that even compares to Windsor pizza, to be honest with
you. Guys,
there's
some sort of contract that if you're born in Windsor, Ontario, you have to sign, I swear. Otherwise, they come and hunt down your family or something.
It's not. You know what else too? You know, what's his name from Barstool? He went over to Detroit, right? And he was doing the Lafayette Coney Island against the American, right? And anybody that and we didn't practice this either. Jacob, what's better?
Lafayette. Without a doubt.
You can't even make this stuff up. We're connected. I told you. It's not even a question. People that know. Lafayette is 100 times better.
I don't even know that I've been inside of American Coney Island.
I was once, but I used to take my friends to Lafayette when they'd come and they'd be like, "Mark, why are we going into this, this neighborhood or whatever?" I'm like, "Guys, this is where you got to go for the hot dogs. It's the best hot dog in the world, right? Lafayette Coney Island. I live in Edmonton. Okay, the pizza's not good. They don't got Coney dogs. They got nothing like this. I dream about Lafayette Coney Island, and I dream about the pizza in Windsor. It is by far the best
I'll have
pizza
to
in the
do
world.
that, both those things, I guess.
You got to do Lafayette's, Jesse, because when you go in there, I believe they're Greek there, the owners.
Yeah, they're
just yelling at you at what you want. Like it's the whole experience. You go there to get humiliated a little bit by these guys, and you get a good hot dog too.
Yeah.
They've been doing the same thing for years and years. It's like real traditional. And when you go in there, you're like, "There's no way this is going to be any good." And
it is.
I love it. Honestly, I love it. And no, we did not rehearse this beforehand.
No, Mark loves a good hot dog. Also, though, I mentioned John Kruk before. Remember John Kruk, Philadelphia Phillies?
John Kruk, yes, mullet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And a big dude, like he literally drank a beer and ate a hot dog in the 7th inning stretch. Like that's what he did. Are there still dudes that do that, or is that all gone?
Oh, I don't. They're. Jeez.
It's definitely not a lot then.
I
if
don't
you have
want
to
to
think
spill
about it.
beans on anyone.
Yeah.
There are guys who eat really unhealthy.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
And some unassuming guys, actually. Some unassuming
Like you wouldn't even
guys.
know. You wouldn't know.
But I think now though,
big.
like they know about the calories and they're working very hard. Like John Kruk, I don't think worried about his physique so much.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But no, I think you'd be surprised. There are some people with like crazy metabolisms. They just eat whatever they want, drink a Pepsi before the game.
Oh, wow.
You know, this, that, and the other.
What about your
cool.
love, Jake? What about your love for music?
Love.
So if we were going to put, you have to be. You're from Windsor, like me. Now, if we were going to put a band together, okay, and you were going to be the lead singer of the band, you'd be the front guy singing. There's no question. Who would be on bass? Who would be on lead? And who would play the drums?
I don't think I would be the singer, to be honest with you.
Okay, what would you the bass player then? Because you're unassuming.
Okay,
you don't want to.
let's do.
You'd be the bass player. So who would be the lead? Who would be the lead guitarist? And who would be the drummer? This is the real Windsor coming out now, Jesse. It's going to be a good answer. It's guaranteed.
I mean, it would be sinful if I didn't say Neil Peart was on.
Boom. See,
Peart,
mic drop.
100% on
Yeah,
drums.
of course.
Greatest of all time for sure.
Yeah, done.
Who would be? Jeez. Sorry. Guitar.
Well, again,
Maybe
you're
Jimmy
different.
Page on guitar.
Jimmy
Oh,
Page.
geez,
Yeah,
wow.
there you
Okay.
go.
Jimmy
Yep.
Page on guitar, and you know what? I'm gonna remove myself from the band.
And
I'm
just
gonna
be like
take it- I'm
a
gonna
roadie.
go
You're gonna be the
genuinely
roadie.
bass.
Oh Jesus, man! Like yeah.
I have
of
to
course.
do two
Yeah.
of the three
Yeah.
Rush members.
I agree.
Singer.
Oh, lead is hard. That's hard.
I don't even know. It just
That's
depends on the
Who-
the feeling that I have that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of days
Who's
it's
the
Freddie
go-to?
Mercury,
Oh yeah, well Freddie. I mean,
Yeah. Come on.
right? Love James Hetfield, Metallica.
Yeah. Metallica. Yeah.
Love James.
Yeah.
Love Robert Plant's voice too.
This kid's 26, Jesse.
I know.
He's busting.
He's throwing out-
He's
he's
throwing
throwing
out.
out things from your era,
Oh,
Stone
oh,
Age.
It's not from my era. It's a Windsor thing, man. We all like you do not play music trivia with anybody from Windsor, okay?
Did you have to like buy an 8-track player to hear some of those songs? Mark
No,
Hasbro still.
that's albums. Those are albums.
I don't know what it was. I did grow up listening to a lot of classic
Rock and
classic
roll.
rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, rock and roll for sure.
Because
I think,
it was
I think
riff.
it is a
Riff-
Windsor thing.
Yeah, it's riff, rock and roll between the toes, little rock and roll ditty-o, baby. That's from Detroit. I still know the riff. I still know the punchlines there, man. Best radio ever. You didn't even listen. There was no listen to 8 tracks or cassettes. You listened to the riff because it was the best rock station going. It probably still is. And it was fantastic. And you went to Lafayette, Coney Island. You didn't go to the American. And you went to get the pizza in Windsor, not in Detroit. It was done.
I'm feeling very nostalgic. Right?
You are. And listen, you know what, Jesse? This is what you don't know. Jacob's parents, who I know, rented a helicopter to see his first game because they live in Windsor and they had to fly over. His mother, Jill, and
Right.
father,
Because you couldn't
they,
drive.
they couldn't drive over because of
Jeez.
COVID, and they rented a helicopter to see his first game. And you know what? Everybody was shocked by it, everything. And I saw your mother doing the interview, and I said, I would have bet
Yeah,
at
no,
least
that's worth
$1,000
Yeah.
that she would have done that. At least I would have bet. I would have bet on it.
Yeah, that one was crazy. Everybody in the whole clubhouse knew about it. I remember AJ Hinch, our manager, was like, "Hey, what's the status on the helicopter?" Before they got there. I think it was just one of those things where they had to do it. They had
Yeah,
to
no,
do it.
that's
I
cool.
had played one game prior to that, made my debut in Baltimore. They couldn't make it to that one. A really good friend of mine and my roommate here in Chicago for the off season, his sister was the only person at that game for me. It was my first big league game.
Wow.
It was my buddy's sister. She took pictures and stuff, sent them to my parents and all that, which was awesome. And the start, I think when I first got to Baltimore, they told me I was going to start the next day in Detroit. So
Wow.
tell my parents. they did everything they could.
Jacob, your mom would have swam. Your mom would have swam, no question. She would have swam across the Detroit River to see that game, guaranteed. That's easy money. Easy money.
Yeah. So they drove 10 minutes to the Windsor airport, and then they flew 8 minutes to the Detroit airport, and then they drove 10, 20 minutes, about 20 minutes to the stadium when they could have just driven like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Door to door. I mean, when I'm at home in Windsor, like at a regular off season, for a typical off season, I will drive across the border to Detroit to do a lot of my training at Comerica Park. So I'm really familiar with that drive. You just take the tunnel.
That's right.
And it's right there. So unfortunately they could not do that, but I think it made for a really cool story. I mean, how many debuts has resulted in parents flying in a helicopter,
Yeah.
So
that'll go down. And it was great to see your dad too, because when they interviewed your dad, and I know your dad's a tough dude, but your dad got choked up. And I loved seeing that, because that's what it means to people for their kids to make it into Major League Sports, right? I mean, that's something special, and that's something they'll never forget, and you'll never forget. And the only way you're going to repay them back is by making the roster full time. That's it. You owe them that.
I think I do.
You do.
I
you
think
owe
that and more. They've driven me.
They're
to
fantastic.
So many things,
that's right.
Supported me every step of the way. So I'm really appreciative of them.
Well, Jacob, thank you so much for spending some time with us today while you're staying in Chicago. Of course,
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really did. You guys are great to talk to.
And that's what this is about, is to get to know people and beyond the sport. And I love talking sports, but I'm more interested in getting to know the people. So I think everyone watching say, hey, you know what? I'm cheering for this guy because I want to see him win. And, hey, you're Canadian and from Windsor, I guess. But Canadian.
Don't dismiss that.
That's not an I guess.
Do not do that, Jesse. Okay, that is not cool.
Now, if he was from Vancouver Island, we'd have something to talk about.
Vancouver Island. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
But thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And again, like everybody, like follow him on Instagram. Make sure follow.
We'll make sure all this stuff is out there for everybody. That's the most important thing, because what happens is, some people watch it live, but what ends up happening, people watch it after, and continually it'll be out in social media nonstop for the next 2 to 3 years. So that's what we do. Like, it just keeps going and going and going. So we'll make sure of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
I know we'll do too, Jacob. We're going to tag in on every post the Blue Jays, the Tigers, the Yankees, the Orioles. We're going to tag them all. Red Sox. We're going to tag them all in just in case,
All right. Hey, okay. I'm not going to say no.
Exactly.
Thanks so much for joining us, man. You have a good night, and we wish you the best of luck. And hey, man, keep working hard, because you're going to make it.
No problem, guys. Thank you guys so much. Take care.
All right. Bye. Jacob Robson, everybody.
The kid's a gem. I told her, listen, I know his parents for a long period of time. I grew up with his mother, and I'm telling you, this kid, I can't talk about his intelligence, the way he is, the way he conducts himself. This is a kid that's not telling you, hey, I'm a role model, but he's a role model. He's a role model. Well, that's the kind
of thing, right? If you're going to be a role model, you just are one, and that's how that happens. And again, he is. And again, I wish him all the luck, because, again, like I said, like, being where he is now, that is one of the hardest things in the world to be in. Being a Canadian and making the MLB. And not growing up in Vancouver, because let's be honest,
it's true.
Usually guys are from VC because they can play more. Like
they
you
can
said,
play 8 months a year.
You can play 8, 9, 10 months a year, maybe, and there you can't as much. So it's pretty incredible, and I really, really hope that he keeps going and we see him full time.
Yeah, I mean, he, like I said, I grew up with his mother, and I know his father, and I know his family, and I'm telling you, he came from good stock. And his grandfather, I know he had a really, and I'm not joking about the grandfather. The grandfather was Tom Selleck before Tom Selleck was Tom Selleck. I mean, this guy was a stud. He looked great. He had a great tan all the time. And I used to say that, I used to tell Jill all the time, I'm like, I want to be like your dad one day. You know what I mean? So, and he's passed away. He was just a great man. And like I said, Jacob followed through that lineage of people. He had great role models growing up. So it was great that he paid attention to all that. You can see he's an intelligent kid.
Yeah.
Like, he's super intelligent. He was very good in school. And, we're hoping, hey, like, it's true. hey, maybe he won't play for the Tigers. Maybe he'll end
Yeah,
up.
no, you don't know.
Hey, maybe he'll be with Bo Bichette. He looks like he fits in with that crew.
Yeah, he does, actually.
Like I'm not saying anything, Jace, and I don't want to be a Jays fan, but if that kid plays for you, I'll like this fast, I'll have his jersey and I'll wear it, So, but what I'm saying is he could fit in there like a glove.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome.
Literally.
Well, if you need any glass help, if you have a windshield chipped,
yes.
if Jacob is over your house and he's throwing baseballs in the backyard and he throws one through your window, well, you just give Crystal Glass a call because they'll give you help and they'll fix your glass. Call 310 Glass. Hey, we did that synced.
Or crystalglass.ca.
There you
Easy.
go. And them on Facebook too.
Yeah.
As I was saying before, hockey's boring and hasn't evolved.
You're upset. Your team is in a shambles right
now.
Well, no,
I honestly I haven't paid attention. It's true. Over the last 8 to 9 years.
Like Calgary's looking weak right now, and your Seahawks look in shambles. Right now, for you,
Seahawks are in shambles.
Yeah, they are.
One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time isn't well.
I wouldn't say all time, but I'd say he's okay.
How?
But
he has the most wins before age ever. It's true.
How many Super Bowls?
One.
But
there's a lot of players that didn't win a Super Bowl. How about where would you put Dan Marino?
Well, I'd put Marino in the top 10, but I wouldn't put him. I know he didn't win a Super Bowl, but he had the perfect season. But I'd put him in the top 10.
Well, he did win that, but I don't think he was the quarterback that year.
No.
But anyway, there's lots. I think people just have the hate out for Russell, but I honestly, he's one of the greatest. He changed the sport a bit. There wasn't really mobile quarterbacks before him that could throw the ball. Come on.
Oh,
Michael Vick could move.
Michael Vick
but
don't count.
Michael Vick
don't
could
count.
run. That isn't what I said.
Yeah.
That also could throw the ball. And Michael Vick made some passes, but he didn't throw it like Russell.
He also, listen, Russell also conducted himself like a professional athlete. You never hear nothing. You never hear nothing bad about Russell. Russ, never, nothing.
It just sucks. The first game he's missed ever in his 10-year career. It's crazy. When you think about how many times that guy gets hit, he leads the league in getting hit every year. And and this is his first injury, is his finger.
Because your old line is horrible.
Oh,
it's been horrible
so
even when he's had great.
He's never had a good one.
No,
never.
No,
I couldn't even. I'd want to know what it would have been like if he had a good old line.
Listen, if he had the Dallas Cowboys O line.
Oh my gosh,
he would have won.
Now I will say this about Dak.
He would have won 4.
I will say this about Dak.
Yeah.
The guy can sling the ball. You can't argue that.
Yeah,
and yes, I know he has an amazing line, but he can throw the ball. I didn't think he'd be able to come back, and he's back.
I hate the Cowboys, but I like Dak.
I think that he's even better than he was before.
I think so too.
It's crazy, but that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, man. Football's a great year. It's an interesting season. I think AZ is big.
Oh, offensively, yeah.
Yeah, they're juggling, and defensively too. They're pretty solid.
Yep,
so
they are.
And you're happy because hey, the Raiders aren't 8-9 yet, but they will be.
They won't. Listen, Jesse, I'm saying it right on the show today, so everybody knows your rule is over. Your juju is gone, man.
You should wait till after.
The Calgary's in the tank. Seattle's in the tank.
Yeah, but
my Raiders are on the up. Even my Red Wings look competitive this year, which is fantastic. And listen, my pseudo team, which everybody knows it is, and I hate to say it out loud, is the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh,
and
mine's the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, cool jersey, cool name,
great.
But I think the Oilers are going to go very far this year, very far.
Playoff? Stanley Cup?
I think they're going to be sniffing around the Stanley Cup this year. Because
so what does that mean? Finals or semifinals?
Semifinal. I think
they're going to make it to the semifinals.
Semifinals. You heard it on the Me and Jesse podcast. You know why? I don't want to say that because I still think they're a little bit delusional when it comes to defense, and I still think they're a little delusional in goaltending. I think Smith can play goal right now during the season, but you know what happens come playoff time, and it's a little bit. It's different. It's different.
Can get a goaltender and another defensive player.
Yeah.
Say trade deadline kind of thing.
Yeah, when it comes, yeah.
Look out.
Yes,
that's what I'll say. I do believe they're on the cusp. I really do.
They're starting to have this thing called depth, which they've never had.
Well, no,
before.
they don't have that.
Well, no,
because that's
I'm
the thing. That's the problem. Their first and second line finally can split up Leon and
yeah, and they're starting to have a third line now too. They're starting to have that.
Yeah.
But you know what you also need though? Come playoff time, we've all known this. You need that fourth line, and they don't have that. So that's going to be the process. They do, and I don't want to put Smith under the bus because he's done.
Yes, they have to start to shut out games and 1-goal games allowed.
Yeah, because you know what it's starting to look like. It's starting to look like the old Oilers where they have to score. You have to score 5 goals.
7-5 final.
Yeah,
And that's great and exciting for the fans, but it isn't how you're going to win the Stanley Cup.
You will not win the Stanley Cup with that. No.
And so but we'll see what happens. I honestly do think they're on the cusp. I don't think this is the year, but it could be close.
It'll be close.
Well,
hey, listen. One more time, Jacob Robson, everybody. Jacob Robson
so much, man.
on Instagram, Jacob Robson 7 at
on
Jacob
Instagram,
Robson on Instagram, and he is on Twitter, but he doesn't tweet. So you could find
it's for old people.
It's for old people like me,
like us.
Yeah, like
I even put myself in there, Mark. I didn't just put you down.
I appreciate that,
but I don't really tweet, so.
I know. Only time you tweet is when you want to fight something. You want to get in a fight with people. You know what I mean? It's like you want to start some trouble. You want to start some trouble.
There's nothing better than Twitter fight. Come on.
Oh, it's easy. You know, hey,
DK Metcalf and Shannon Sharp had one on the weekend.
It's nonstop. It doesn't matter what field it is.
There's a Twitter fight somewhere.
There's a Twitter fight somewhere. There is. Yeah.
That's Mark Pavlich. I'm Jesse Marino. This has been the most important 60 minutes you spent on the internet this week. Stay tuned next week. Going to be another great show, and also 310 Glass, as we mentioned, but also
tell me
I don't think we're going to see John Gruden again. See you next time, everybody. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/Me and Jesse.